Well, I'm very excited today to announce the publication of my newest book, The Ever-Shrinking Fighting Force. This book covers everything from the glacial pace and increasing costs of weapons procurement, the spiraling growth of defense agents in DoD's overhead, and the fully burdened costs of the all-volunteer force. In constant dollars, we are spending more on defense today than we did at the peak of the Reagan buildup, and yet we have a significantly smaller force. At the peak of the Reagan buildup, $600 billion supported 2.2 million active duty troops. Today, $700 billion supports less than 1.3 million active duty personnel, approximately $100 billion more for 1 million fewer active forces. This book offers solutions to effect change at DoD and the Pentagon to increase efficiency, cut bureaucracy, and ultimately strengthen our national security. I'm not advocating reducing the defense budget top line. I'm emphasizing the necessity for the Pentagon and Congress to get more bang for the buck for the dollars they approve. The time now is to focus on inputs, not outputs. For the U.S. military to meet the threats at our doorstep and over the horizon, a rising China and revanchist Russia, cyber and space warfare, and weapons of mass destruction, to name just a few, the Pentagon and Congress need to focus on what we get for what we spend and establish performance goals that ensure DoD's output is better, faster, and cheaper than our adversaries. In the Ever-Shrinking Fighting Force's opening chapters, I detail 8 ticking time bombs that present major challenges to our national security. In today's episode, I will discuss 3 of the ticking time bombs. The first ticking time bomb is DoD's massive and inefficient overhead, which has been growing like a kudzu vine. There is an excessive amount of money and personnel tied up here. According to fiscal year 20 data, when including all military, civilian, and contractor personnel, the department has over 900,000 people working in the DoD headquarters and agencies, the Joint Staff, the combatant commands, and service headquarters and field activities, with directly related costs for these organizations exceeding $137 billion. There has also been massive growth in specific offices, like the Office of the Secretary of Defense, a headquarters element. OSD staffing appears to have doubled over the last 3 decades. It is important to note that many basic functions normally included in a headquarters element like OSD are broken out as separate activities, including the Office of the Inspector General, Washington Headquarters Services, and the Pentagon Force Protection Agency. Including those personnel counts would more than double the current OSD tally. In the overhead accounts, we have got to move personnel from the rear to the tip of the spear. The second ticking time bomb is the growing, fully burdened, all-in cost of the all-volunteer force, which includes retirement, health care, fringe benefits, and deferred compensation for service members. In the past 20 years, the average fully burdened cost for a mid-career individual on active duty has gone from $80,000 per year to $160,000 at the end of the Bush administration to current estimates of close to $400,000 today. The cost of pay and pay-related benefits for military personnel has increased from $77 billion in 2001 to a requested level of $167 billion in 2022. An increase of almost $100 billion supports an active force in 2022 that is 100,000 people smaller than the active duty force we had in 2001. Over that same time frame, healthcare costs have gone up more than threefold, from $11 billion in 2001 to over $40 billion in 2022. The DoD-dependent school costs have more than doubled, and even the military commissary grocery store subsidy has gone up 27%, from $900 million in 2001 to over $1.2 billion in 22, while sales in those stores have actually dropped from $5 billion to $4.5 billion. Typically, most calculations also focus on the individual's paycheck and items funded in the military personnel budget account. However, solely counting the military personnel ignores the long-term fully burdened and life cycle costs of our uniform members and excludes total personnel costs to run the DoD. Further complicating the problem is DoD's antiquated military pay system, which is based on time and grade and longevity versus skills and performance, the latter of which becomes even more important as technological capabilities become a vital part of national security. The Government Accountability Office, the GAO, has questioned whether the, quote, increasingly costly military compensation system would be affordable, sustainable, and fiscally sound over the long term, end quote, concluding that it is, quote, unlikely, end quote. Based on all the analyses I have seen, coupled with my personal experience, I agree with the GAO assessment. And there are things we could do now to change this, encourage our military service members to stay when they're most productive and experienced, rather than incentivizing them to retire at 20 years of service. Today, we are paying people for 60 years to serve for 20 years. The third ticking time bomb is DoD's broken acquisition system that costs more, takes longer, and produces less. DoD does not employ proven business practices and processes when it comes to its huge expenditures for goods and services, supplies, and equipment, despite the fact that American industry has proven conclusively that significant savings are possible. In total, the most current federal procurement data reports that DoD spends over $320 billion on contracts, 51% on goods, 41% for services, and 8% for R&D. A total sum that measures more than all the other government agencies combined and consumes about 8% of the total federal budget. While the acquisition leaders in both the Obama and Trump administrations, including Ash Carter, Frank Kendall, and Ellen Lord and others, worked to address these problems and they implemented positive changes, the measure is not how far we have come, but how far we still have to go. The Department of Defense is one of the largest, most complex organizations in the world. It is routinely recognized as the largest centrally directed and managed entity on the planet. In perspective, DoD's budget is 50% larger than the world's largest private company, Walmart. Its budget is over $730 billion a year, meaning close to $2 billion is spent per day. Because of DoD's mammoth size, even small savings would have a major impact, further underscoring the need for even modest reforms. Over the coming episodes, I will discuss additional defense-related topics covered in my new book, The Ever-Shrinking Fighting Force. I hope you'll tune in. Thank you for watching and listening. And hopefully I'm not being self-serving, but the book is available on Amazon and also through my website, arnoldpunaro.com.